I am here to present the topic alkaloid and overview. Myself Dr. Rokeya Sultana, Professor and Vice Principal, Department of Pharmacognosy, Yenepoya Pharmacy College and Research Center. I will be dealing with these contents: specific learning objectives, introduction, definition and classification, distribution and occurrence, nomenclature, properties of alkaloids, function of alkaloids in plants, and summary. At the end of this session, you will be able to define alkaloids, understand the classification of alkaloids, remember the distribution and occurrence of alkaloids, illustrate the nomenclature of alkaloids, explain the properties of alkaloids, as well as will be able to describe the function of alkaloids in plants. Let's know about the introduction. The alkaloids has come from the German words alkaloid, where alcohol means the base and oid means like substances. So alkaloids meaning is base-like substances. The term alkaloid was first coined by German scientist William Meissner in the year of 1819, and this term was widely used only after publication of a review article by Albert Laudenberg in the year of 1880s. The definition of alkaloids given by different scientists in time to time says that alkaloids are basic compounds, and the basicity is because of nitrogen present in the heterocyclic ring. It is obtained from the plant origin. They are optically active. They are derived from the biosynthesis of amino acid. They are physiologically active, and they give a positive color reaction with the alkaloidal reagent. But there are lot of exceptions of this definition. The first criteria is basicity. But we can see amino acids are basic in nature, but they are not alkaloid. And there are some alkaloids which are alkaloid but not basic in nature, like colchicine, piperine and quaternary alkaloids. Second criteria is the nitrogen should be present in the heterocyclic ring. But we can see the structure of ephedrine, colchicine and mescaline where nitrogen is present outside the ring, but they are alkaloid. Whereas the nitrogen is present in the heterocyclic ring of the structure of thiamine, but they are not considered as the alkaloid. The third point was plant origin, means alkaloid will be obtained from the plant origin. But we can found there are many alkaloids obtained from the microorganisms, animals as well as marine sources, such as ergot alkaloid obtained from the fungus Claviceps purpurea, bacteria originated alkaloid is procyanin, as well as succinatoxin is obtained from the marine sources. The alkaloid should be obtained from the biosynthesis of amino acid, but we can found the caffeine is an alkaloid which is not derived from amino acid. Instead, it is obtained from the nucleotide adenosine monophosphate. And the last point, the alkaloid should be giving positive response to the color reaction of an alkaloidal reagent. But caffeine is an alkaloid which does not give any positive reaction with the alkaloidal reagent. Moreover, the caffeine can be identified by the test called Muir-Oxide test. So from these exceptions, we can see that the basic characters is no longer a prerequisite for an alkaloid, and nitrogen should be part of the heterocyclic ring is no more effective, and extra bound nitrogen should be present, and it is not limited to only the plant kingdom. That is why scientist Pelletier in the year of 1983 has given a new definition of alkaloid, that is, alkaloids are cyclic organic compounds containing nitrogen in a negative state of oxidation with limited distribution among living organisms. Let us see how the alkaloids are classified. Alkaloids are classified based on different criteria, like based on the definition of alkaloids given by different scientists, based on the biogenetic pathways, based on the taxonomy, based on presence of amino group, based on their exhibition of pharmacological activity, as well as based on their chemical nature. First, we will discuss about the classification of alkaloids which arise from the definition. Based on the classification of alkaloids are classified into three types: true alkaloid, protoalkaloid and pseudoalkaloid. The definition of true alkaloids are they will be satisfying with all the criteria of definition, that is, they are basic in nature, nitrogen present in the heterocyclic ring, they are obtained from the plant origin, they are optically active, they are obtained from the biosynthesis of amino acid, they are physiologically active and give positive reaction with the alkaloidal color reagent. The example of true alkaloids are atropine and quinine. Next we will go for definition of protoalkaloids. Protoalkaloids, the first criteria of protoalkaloids is nitrogen is present but not present in the heterocyclic ring. Examples are ephedrine and colchicine. Other than that, it follows all the criteria of definition of alkaloid. The last one is pseudoalkaloids. This pseudoalkaloid does not obtain by biosynthesis of amino acid and it will also not give positive color reaction with the alkaloidal reagent. The example of pseudoalkaloids is caffeine, and caffeine is identified by separate test called Muroxide test. Next is classification based on the biosynthetic pathways or biogenetic pathways. Here the alkaloid formation follows a pathways which is called as biogenetic and biosynthetic pathways, and this pathways where the alkaloids are derived from the amino acid or amino acid derivatives. The different alkaloid amino acids are used for the biosynthesis of alkaloids are ornithine is used for the biosynthesis of tropane alkaloids, pyrrolidine alkaloids as well as pyrrolidine alkaloids. Tyrosine amino acid is used for biosynthesis of opium alkaloids, whereas tryptophan is used for biosynthesis of indole-like alkaloids ipecac, quinoline, pyridine and pyridine alkaloids. Tryptamine is used for indole-like alkaloid reserpine as well as asmalin, whereas lysine is used for biosynthesis of quinogelidine and piperidine. Phenylalanine is the precursor for biosynthesis of morphine. Next classification is taxonomical classification. This classification is based on the botanical source of the alkaloid. The alkaloid belongs to that particular family, the alkaloid is come under that classification. For example, the alkaloid which comes from the Solanaceae family are called as Solanaceous alkaloids. The examples are atropine, hyoscyamine, solacidine and vitaferine. Whereas apocynaceous family alkaloids are called as apocynaceous alkaloids such as cinchona, rauwolfia and vinca alkaloids. Next, the classification based on presence of type of amines presented. So, different types of amines present in alkaloids are primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary amines. The primary amines example is norephedrine. The secondary amine examples are atropine. Tertiary amine examples are atropine and quaternary ammonium examples is D-tubocurarine. Next is classification based on the pharmacological activity. Here the alkaloids are classified based on what kind of activities they are used for. For example, analgesic and narcotic activities, morphine and codeines are used. The alkaloids which are used to stimulate the central nervous system, they are called as CNS stimulants. Examples are caffeine and strychnine. The alkaloids which are used to treat cancer, they are called as anti-cancer alkaloids. Example is vincristine, vinblastine and taxol. The alkaloids which are used for mydriatics, atropine, antiasthmatic activities, ephedrine, antitussive codeine, expectorant lovelin. The alkaloid which is used to treat blood pressure, elevated blood pressure is called as antihypertensive alkaloids. Example is reserpine, such as smooth muscular relaxant, skeletal muscular relaxant, anthelmintics, antimalarial and antiemetic alkaloids. The main classification of alkaloids which is widely accepted is based on their chemical structure. It is again classified into two types. Based on their heterocyclic nature, they are called as heterocyclic alkaloids, where heterocyclic ring is present, and where the heterocyclic ring is not present is called as non-heterocyclic alkaloids. Based on the heterocyclic ring, the alkaloids are again classified into different types. When pyrrole group is present as a heterocyclic ring, which is a 5-membered ring, then it is called as pyrrole group of alkaloid. Example is laminarine. Pyrrolidine group, when it is used as a nucleus for the alkaloids, they are called as pyrrolidine group of alkaloids. Example is hygrine. Same like that, pyridine group of alkaloids, example is nicotine. Piperidine group of alkaloids, example lobeline. Indole group of alkaloids, ergometrine. Imidazole group of alkaloids, example pilocarpine. And purine group of alkaloids, example is caffeine. Other than that, quinoline group of alkaloids, quinine. Isoquinoline group of alkaloids, papaverine. Tropine group of alkaloids, atropine. Phenanthrene group of nucleus, if it is present, then it is called as phenanthrene alkaloids. Example is morphine. Steroidal moiety, if it is present as a nucleus, then it is called steroidal alkaloid. Example solanidine. Terpenoid nucleus, if it is present, it is called as terpenoid alkaloids. Example is Taxol. And non-heterocyclic alkaloids such as phenylalkylamine, where a heterocyclic group is not present, example is ephedrine. So that was about the classification of alkaloid. Next we will be seeing the distribution and occurrence of alkaloids. The alkaloids mostly not found in the lower plants, and they are more rich in dicots than the monocots, and families which are rich in alkaloids are Apocynaceae, Rubiaceae, Solanaceae and Papaver, and the families which are free from alkaloids are Rosaceae and Labiatae. Let us see how the alkaloids are distributed in different parts of the plants. The Datura plants you might have seen in the westlands. This plant, the entire plant is used for atropine, whereas leaf, root, stem as well as fruits and flowers contains atropine from the Datura stramonium. Roots of Ipecac. Ipecac is having a specific root structure which is having nodules in it, and the imetine alkaloid is obtained from the root of Cephalus ipecacuana. From the stem, Ephedra gerardiana, ephedrine is the alkaloid which is well known for its anti-respiratory activities. From the leaves, cocaine is obtained from the Erythroxylon coca. From the bark, quinine is obtained from the Cinchona officinalis bark. Vinblastine is a anti-cancer alkaloid which is obtained from the flowers of Catharanthus roseus. Piperine is obtained from the fruits of Piper longum, whereas strychnine is obtained from the seeds of Nux vomica. Coptides from Coptis sinensis rhizome it is obtained, and solacidine from the tubers of Solanum tuberosum. The corm, which is a modified stem which is again used from the Colchicum luteum. The colchicine is the alkaloid, and latex of the Papaver somniferum is giving the morphine alkaloid. So let us know now how to name the alkaloids. But there is no unique method for naming the alkaloids. There are certain alkaloids where we can see it end with INE. So this INE is the writing of the name of the alkaloid. We use this, and then it can be also named using the other criteria like genus. Atropa belladonna, it is the source of atropine, and this atropine was named from the Atropa genus. Next comes species. Erythroxylon coca, where coca is the species name, so alkaloid name cocaine is kept from the species coca. This alkaloid can also be named based on their common name, like ergot, which is Claviceps purpurea. Ergotamine is kept from its common name. Sometimes the alkaloid can be named as per the name of the discoverer, like Pelletier scientist discovered the alkaloid pelletrine and it was named as per his name. Sometimes alkaloid can be named as per their physiological actions, like emetine is having the physiological action, it can stop emesis. That is why it is called as emetic. So emetine has come from this terms. Sometimes the alkaloid can also be named as per their physical characters, like hygroscopic nature of hygrine was responsible to make the name hygrine. There are certain prefixes and suffixes also can be added to name the alkaloids, like nor prefixes can be used to denote the term N-demethylation or N-demethoxylation. The examples are nor-pseudoephedrine and nor-nicotine. Whereas the apo terms is used to denote dehydration. So apomorphine means dehydrated morphine. Whereas iso, pseudo, neo and ap, these are the terms which are used to denote the different types of isomers. Different suffix also can be used to name the alkaloids, like dine can be used to keep the name between the isomerism. So like quinine, its isomers is quinidine. Cinchonine, its isomer is cinchonidine. And INE sometimes is used to show lower pharmacological activity of an alkaloid. So argetamine, if it is the less potent of argotamine alkaloid, can be called as argotaminin. Let's see the properties of alkaloids. First we'll talk about physical properties. Physical properties, when we talk, first only come into the picture is color. The color mostly for the alkaloids is colorless, but there are certain exceptions like colchicine and berberine are yellow in color, canadine is orange in color, and the salt of sanguinarine are copper red in color. The second one is the condition or the state of the alkaloid. Commonly the alkaloids are found as crystalline solids or amorphous solids, but there are certain exceptions like alkaloids can be found as volatile liquid, example is nicotine, and non-volatile example is pilocarpine. The third parameter of physical properties is solubility. The alkaloids are found as free bases or their salts. So when they are found as a free bases, commonly they are soluble in organic solvents and insoluble in water, and bases and their salts are soluble in alcohol, and pure salts are soluble in water and insoluble or sparingly soluble in organic solvents. But there are certain exceptions where bases can be insoluble or sparingly soluble in certain organic solvents. For example, morphine in ether, theobromine and theophylline in benzene, they are insoluble. And commonly bases are soluble in water, soluble in organic solvent, but some exceptions are there. Bases are soluble in water such as caffeine, ephedrine, codeine, colchicine, pilocarpine and quaternary ammonium bases, they are soluble in water. Salts are usually soluble in water, but exception is salts are insoluble in water, example is quinine monosulfate. Salts are also soluble in organic solvent, example is lobeline and hydrochloride chloride. Next comes the isomerization. In the definition only we have told that the alkaloids should be optically active, and these optical activities are main responsible to show their different physiological activities. For example, the levoephedrine is 3.5 times more active than the dextroephedrine. Levoargotamine is 3 to 4 times more active than D-argotamine, whereas D-tubocurarine is more active than its corresponding L form. Quinine is antimalarial activity when it is in the L form, and it can show the antiarrhythmic activity when it converts into its isomer form D form. The racemic mixture of atropine, which is optically inactive, is physiologically active. So these are about the isomerization. Next we'll go for chemical properties. This chemical properties is because of presence of different atoms or chemicals compounds present in the alkaloids. The main important atom is nitrogen, and this nitrogen is responsible for its basicity. Nitrogen can be available as primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary salts, and the basicity will be exhibited based on this nitrogen compound. So according to the basicity of nitrogen atoms, the alkaloids are classified into different types: weak base, strong base, amphoteric base and neutral alkaloids. Weak base is caffeine, strong base is atropine, amphoteric base is morphine and narcine, whereas neutral alkaloids is colchicine. One more important compound is oxygen. Most of the alkaloid contains oxygen, that is why they are solid in nature. We have told about physical properties that majority of the alkaloids are solid in nature because of presence of alkaloid, and if the oxygen is not present, the alkaloid will be liquid in nature. That's why we have seen some alkaloids are liquid in nature like nicotine and quinine because they are free from the oxygen. The last chemical properties is stability. Stability of alkaloid is very important because it exhibits different physiological activities. The first is effect on heat. Majority of the alkaloid will get decomposed by heat, but strychnine and caffeine, they are the alkaloid which will not get decomposed. Moreover, they will get sublimed. When the alkaloids reacts with the acid, they will form the salts. So, if we are using the dilute acids, so it will be producing different kind of salts, but if you are adding concentrated acids, which might cause the dehydration and which will convert alkaloids into their another forms, like atropine can get converted to apoatropine, morphine can get converted to apomorphine, and sometimes it can get methoxylation also, like a codeine. There are effect of light and oxygen also in the chemical properties because alkaloids can get become unstable when we are exposing them to light and oxygen. For example, acerine alkaloids can get converted to rubicérine, reserpine can completely get decomposed, and ergot alkaloid can become inactive alkaloids. The different types of alkalis can also affect. Majorly, when we add alkalis to any alkaloid, they will liberate the alkaloid in terms of salts. But sometimes when we add alkaloids, there is a chance of become isomerization, like hyoscyamine can convert to atropine. Salts with alkaloids can form the carboxylic acid. Example is narcine. Strong alkalis can react like sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide can react with the phenolic alkaloids, and strong alkalis can also cause the hydrolysis of the alkaloids like ester alkaloids, amide alkaloids, and they sometimes can cause the opening of the lactone ring also. Next is the very important is identification of alkaloids. We can do by qualitative chemical test. So, for this qualitative chemical test, we can use different reagent which can cause the precipitation or change in color. And these reagents are called as alkaloidal color reagent test. And as I have mentioned in the definition that one of the criteria for alkaloid, it should give positive reaction with the alkaloidal color reagent test. Now, let us see how it works. This alkaloidal color reagent test will be able to indicate the presence or absence of alkaloids, and also you will be able to tell whether there is a complete extraction of alkaloid has happened or not. But there are certain disadvantages, like these chemicals can sometimes interfere with the non-alkaloid substances such as protein, lactones and coumarins and can give the false result. So, there are different types of these alkaloidal reagents. Some are double salt in nature, some contains halogens, some contains organic acids and some has high molecular weight acids. The reagents which are formed from the double acid salts, examples are Mayer's reagent and Dragon-Rupp's reagents. Mayer's reagents is potassium mercuric iodide containing substance which when react with the alkaloid, it will give cream or pale yellow color precipitate. Dragon-Rupp's reagents, the component is potassium iodobismuthate which will give orange color precipitate. The reagent containing halogens is Wagner's reagents, where iodine or potassium iodide is present in the reagent, and when it reacts with the alkaloid, it will give reddish brown precipitate. Organic acid is the Hager's reagent, where we use saturated picric acid solution, and this when react with the alkaloid, it will give yellow color precipitate. And there are other substances like phosphomolybdic acid, phosphotungstic acid and silicotungstic acid. They will be giving different colors to indicate the presence or absence of alkaloids. There are different forms of alkaloids which are available. They are available as free bases, available as salt with organic acid, oxalic acid, acetic acid, this acid is usually found. Then they are available as salt as organic acids such as hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid. They are available as special acids also like meconic acid present in opium, quinic acid present in cinchona, and they are also available as glycoside forms like solanine in solanum. There are different functions in the plants, alkaloids, other than medicinal activities in the human and animals. They can be used as a protective, they can be used as a final products of detoxification or waste products, source of nitrogen, growth regulator, and source of energy. So to summarize the entire presentation, I can say that alkaloids are cyclic organic compounds containing nitrogen in a negative oxidation state with limited distribution among living organisms. And alkaloids are classified based on different criteria, and chemical classification is a widely accepted method. Alkaloids are found in different families like Solanaceae, Papaver Rubiaceae, and not only in the plants, it is also available in the microorganism as well. And there is no unique method for naming the alkaloid. We can use different methods to name the alkaloid. Alkaloid possess various physical and chemical properties, and these physical and chemical properties are responsible for their therapeutic properties and known for their diverse therapeutic and biological effects. These are the references you can refer to study this topic. Thank you.